Runner.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live. My name is Ethan Newberry, the Ginger Runner, and this is now episode 4 of Ginger Runner Live, and everything's different. Everything's new and shiny. I've got a new background. I've got guests tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun, but before we even get started, of course, I have to pop open tonight's beverage of choice. For me, I'm going back to this, which is this amazing, delicious Cooper's Brewery Original Pale from Australia. This was sent to me by one of my fans, Andrew. Thank you very much for this. Let me pop that up. Oh, I got it all over my lap. That's how things work. And I just knocked over my second one. Delicious. Welcome to the show. How are you guys doing? Good? Great. I want to get this thing off with a bang. So before I even get any further into this episode, I would like to welcome you to the chat room. If you have any questions throughout the course of this episode, please type them in there, because we have a gentleman in the chat room and live video-wise. He's back. He's on the show. It is the one and only Mr. Chris Vargo. What's up, Chris Vargo?
How's it going?
Good. You can talk. Yeah, you're totally able to talk now. How are you? What did you drink tonight? What is that?
I'm drinking a Kavita sparkling probiotic.
Oh, some extra bacteria going on.
Lemon cayenne pepper. They're good.
It looks delicious.
Tea, too. Standard.
Of course, standard tea. Yeah. You wouldn't be Chris Vargo if you weren't also drinking tea. I guess that's how that works.
Right.
So we have Chris back, of course. He's in the chat room, so if you have any questions, ask them. And he's going to be kind of keeping an eye on things, and he'll be jumping in throughout the course of tonight's episode and asking those questions. So bring him on. And Chris, what's going on in the chat room now? Are people saying anything?
James Walsh says, "I can't believe you guys are dancing." And Jeff Allen says, "No giggling, Sally."
Aww. Before we got started, I told them both, I'm like, keep quiet, because they'll be able to hear you. And as soon as I started rolling, you just hear Sally go. And actually, this might be a great opportunity to introduce our guest tonight, the one and only Miss Sally McRae. Hello, Sally.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great, and I'm drinking carrot juice tonight.
God, I feel like a lush. Here I am enjoying delicious Cooper's beer, and you two are drinking healthy kombucha or probiotic stuff and water and carrot juice. How are you, Sally McRae?
I'm doing awesome. I actually just finished a little workout, so pardon my kind of frazzled attire here.
Yeah, I like the side ponytail. It's a real good gym look.
It's a knot.
You just tied your hair in a knot.
I tied it in a knot.
Well, it looks good. I actually just realized that I have Sally and Chris on. Both are professional ultra runners with Team Nike. I just realized that you're both Nike athletes, so welcome, you two.
Yeah.
Thank you. Woo!
You guys are like, wow, you guys are definitely really excited right now. Thank you for
just do it.
The show. We have a theme tonight. We have a theme. Tonight's theme is training for your first blank. I have a lot of viewers that are training for their first 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, maybe even an ultra, whether it's a 50K, 50-miler. I can't imagine that you would go from like a marathon to a 100-miler. If you are or do, then, you know, good job. But I have these two professional athletes here to help me help you. So if you guys have any questions about how to train for your first blank race, whatever that might be, ask them in the chat room. But we're going to provide you with as many tips as we possibly can to help your training and to help you dial in preparation for those races. So I think, well, I guess, Sally, I want to talk to you first.
Okay.
You just ran, Sean O'Brien was your last race that you ran.
Yeah.
And you placed second place female, which guaranteed you a slot at Western States 100, one of the most prestigious ultra races in the country.
Yes.
What did you do different training for Sean O'Brien compared to other races? Or did you do anything different?
Yeah, I changed my training just a little bit. I knew the race was going to be a fast race. I mean, just looking at the people that were running it, I know the competition was pretty stacked. So I paid a little bit more attention to just quicker workouts, did more tempo runs and, hill repeats and intervals and things like that. And I also made sure that I was really on top of my cross training as far as like core and weights and functional training and things like that. A lot of single leg stance exercises, just things that I think that give you just that little bit of edge that you need when you're doing a race that has 11,000 feet of climbing, and you got to be strong and fast. So, going in when I did the North Face, I didn't do very much of that. So. I had just come off of a race 6 weeks before that, so I wanted to make sure that I fine-tuned my training plan this time.
Yeah, and I mean, you're also a full-time coach, full-time, right? I mean, you have a number of clients.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I make my own schedule. I work from home. I work from Starbucks, Panera Bread. I mean, but yeah, that's what I do for a living.
And that's actually exactly why I'm happy to have you on tonight's episode, is because I'm pretty sure you can provide the best advice for anyone who might be doing their first blank race, whatever that might be, whether it's adding certain mileage at a certain time, doing certain types of speed work, or, like you said, doing stuff at the gym.
Yeah.
Welcome. I'm really, really excited to have you on the show. You're an inspiration to not just me, but to a million people. I'm going to put that number out there, 1 million. Chris, not so much.
I will have to say, Chris is going to be...
He looks like he's sleeping. I'm sorry, Sally.
I was reading.
Chris looks like he's sleeping.
I didn't hear what you were talking about.
No, Chris is actually incredibly knowledgeable. He's coached by one of the best ultra coaches in in the community, and I think that Chris is going to make Ian Torrance.
Mm-hmm.
Chris is going to make a fantastic coach. I think from the first time that I met him, could tell he's incredibly knowledgeable. And I think just having, I don't know, what is it, Chris, like 15 years of highly competitive race experience, he's pretty well-rounded in that respect. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure he'll chime in here too and maybe even challenge me on a couple of things, which I love.
I hope he does. I hope he does.
No,
he's just sitting there. He's in the chat room now right now. I can tell he's reading. You can tell Chris is reading because he does this.
James Walsh says, Chris, what is your diet like to stay trim enough to fit in the Nike women's line? Thanks.
If you don't know, Chris wears a child small, and that's a female child small. He is a tiny, tiny man.
I actually don't fit in the elite kit small stuff.
Yeah,
too buff.
It's like it's really.
I don't know about that, Sally.
It's really small.
Buff is not the word. Well, that's already. We're off to a great start in the chat room. Chris, let us know if stuff starts coming up in the chat room because I'm really lucky to have you two guys.
We're asked where everyone was tuning in from, and it's all over the place, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, we're going to find, I've already had a number of tweets from people who live across the globe. London, we had one from Sweden earlier that said that they couldn't tune in because it's 3 a.m. there. And in my mind, I'm going, dude, the night is just getting started at 3 a.m. I hope that you're up watching Ginger Runner live at 3 a.m. in Sweden. Come on, start raging. Okay, so let's do this. We're going to start with advice for your first half marathon.
Okay.
So, Sally, is there anything that helps new runners? So doing a half marathon, I'm not going to say it's a lesser distance by any means. I just ran a half marathon 2 weeks ago, and it kicked my ass. Kicked my ass. So this is a question from me to you, as well as many people out there who might be running their first half marathon. Mm-hmm. How can we go fast, and how can we finish not wanting to die? I think that's a great question.
And we're talking about possibly just like a road half marathon, right? I know that
road half marathon. These are all, I would say that these are not all confined to trail or road. I think it can go both ways because not all trail races are ultras and not all ultras are trail races, and same with half marathons. So it could go either way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think if it really depends on where you are fitness-wise and just like athletically. So if you enter the running scene and you're a brand new athlete, like it is maybe like the first time that you have become active, then the goal then is to actually foster like a real love and enjoyment for running first, because then you're going to stick to your training plan, and you'll also stick to the phases that require you to put in the more intense workouts and the stuff that's a little bit harder. So I'd say starting with like a beginner runner, I call it the initial conditioning phase. I'd put that person into a phase where all they're doing is getting their body fit and strong, and they're learning how to manage a training plan. Some people don't understand that and what that looks like. I think at minimum, if you can run just 3 days a week, you're off to a great start. And so, the goal overall is to get your body in shape. If you come into the program and you are injured, get that fixed first, because the goal is to thrive in your training plan, not barely survive it.
Yeah.
Now, moving on to like an intermediate runner, let's say that you're moving up from like a 10K, or you just pretty much stayed active your whole life, played basketball and baseball with your buddies and stuff, and you just want to do a race, but you got that competitive edge. I would definitely say to break up your plan at least into, give yourself at minimum of 3 months. I think a 4 to 5 month training program is awesome, because you can. Yeah, I think you can use like always use the majority, especially when you're starting off with a plan. The majority of your training should be building up an aerobic base, and so that is the less intense workouts. It's pretty much like your conversational pace, and so I'd say that if you can run 4 days a week, do 2 to 3 runs that are just at aerobic pace, and then maybe one workout is going to be like your long run or a fartlek type run, which is just speed play, or you kind of range the speed everywhere. But the goal is to get the volume on your legs and get your body used to running far and just building up to be strong. The bigger your aerobic base, then later on in your training program, the more that you'll be able to handle. And I think that's usually the hardest part of training for anybody, especially when we look at what fitness routines are looking at like right now. I mean, you think of, going hard or go home, no pain, no gain, and it's intense all the time. You're not necessarily going to get the results that you want by training that way. So patience, build up a good aerobic base. And as you get closer to your race, that's when you want to start incorporating like tempo runs, interval runs, even sprint repeats and stuff like that. Those will fine-tune your fitness.
Holy crap. Amazing advice.
I could talk a lot about it.
Heard that. I wish I had heard that before I ran my first half marathon. A lot of what I was going to say kind of dovetails with that, and this also will dovetail into the full marathon training as well. I ran into a spot when I was training for my first half marathon where I began to fall out of love with running. I feel like there's this threshold between anywhere 6 to 8 miles, and I'm going to put that as kind of that mileage where you're running 6 miles and you're like, that sucked. It was really hard. I didn't have fun. And then once you get over that 8-mile hump, all of a sudden it becomes, what's the next challenge? I want to see if I can go further. But there's this window of mileage, somewhere between 6 and 10 maybe, where you're borderline totally unhappy and really, really stoked to be going that far. And my advice is just to not give up as you're training and getting through that brick wall, because I will never regret running further, but I would have always regretted not continuing with my training because I didn't like it. So often I hear people like, I can't run, I hate it. I was like, how far did you go? I got to like 6 miles and I just hated it. It's like, well, there's this whole opportunity beyond that just changes your life, and I hope that people get a chance to experience that at some point.
Yeah, you bring it.
You're right. The volume. I was going to just say volume. You're absolutely right. Not going too hard too soon.
Yeah. Hey, I have someone's asking a question here that Sally, you may be able.
Bring it, Chris.
And I cannot pronounce the name. Abhijit says, Chris Vargo, thanks. Should I concentrate more on circuit training, or should I concentrate more on just long-distance endurance training? And they originally asked if think he was having a hard time putting muscle weight on. And I said, well, you don't really need to put muscle weight on to be a good runner. So I guess what do you, Sally, recommend for strength training for ultra running? I know I don't really do that much, and I know you do more than I do. So I guess chime in on that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, strength training for ultra runners. In fact, this has become a really popular topic lately. I think. And I'm not sure exactly why, because I think it has always been very important. But I think it's important for every runner to understand that it isn't necessarily that you're going to the gym and trying to get into this huge, like, bulky, muscly, this big old body. It's that you want to be strong.
Right.
Your goal. And this looks different for everyone. Your goal is to be a strong runner. And so you want to be specific with the exercises that you're doing that are conducive to running. So running in and of itself is, we spend the whole entire time on one leg. It's just continuous motion on one leg. So make sure that your cross-training workouts, if you're doing bicep curls, stand on one leg and do bicep curls. If you're doing overhead presses, stand on one leg and do overhead presses. That being said, when you stand on one foot, you're balancing. And so you have to improve your balance. And balance and coordination comes from a strong core. And so you want to focus on doing core exercises, but then you also want to focus on the weight exercises to get strong. And I'd say especially for trail runners, like ultra trail runners, I'll speak to you guys specifically for a second here. If you want to climb a mountain for 50 miles, well, you have to be strong. And so don't be afraid, and especially women, I'll speak to the women too, don't be afraid to lift heavy weights. You're not going to get huge and bulky from lifting heavy weights, but it is going to make you stronger. It's going to make you powerful. It's going to make you faster too. So I have a YouTube channel myself. It's Coach Sally McRae, and I go over some of these exercises, so you can check that out. There's a handful of them there, and there's a lot of great resources out there just anyway. So
I'm going to be sure to put all of Sally's links in the description of this video once it's posted tonight. So for Twitter, her Facebook, her website, her YouTube page, because she's such a great resource of information. She's helped me along the way. She's helped our whole SoCal run crew along the way. She's helped Chris be the runner he is today. He is the reason he is.
I'm currently outside too.
You know what, Chris? What the hell are you doing?
I know. What are you doing?
I'm letting Colt out, and I think there's a lot of skunks out here, so I always.
Why does Colt always have to take a shit during Ginger Runner Live? Why is that a thing?
It's whenever I Skype my parents too. He always has to go outside. I think he does it out of spite. He's being a dick.
He is being a dick, and he's interrupting the live stream.
So he's outside chasing shit. So.
Okay, so we're gonna hopefully that answers some of your half marathon questions. I know that there's gonna be plenty more. We'll answer as many of them as possible in the post show. So stick around for that. But I definitely want to move on to marathon. Okay, so Sally, how does training for your first marathon differ from your first half marathon? When you make that jump, I'm guessing most people will jump from a half marathon to a marathon. Some don't. That's totally fine.
Right.
But what is like the first step you would recommend to that stage?
Yeah, I think it goes back to just what I said originally too, like making sure that you have a good aerobic base, making sure that your fitness is there first. I can't stress that enough. And I'll say in the most, I mean, this is anyway, this is gonna be really simple, but it really is not complicated as far as like how a training program goes, and you should not approach your training program, whether it's a half marathon, full marathon, or a 100-miler with the idea that it's not achievable, or that it's this huge mountain, oh my gosh, I'm going to start my training. I think that if you're training right and you have a good training program, then it's one that you look at that you realize you're going to be easing into it, and that you're going to be getting stronger and fitter, so that every single stage it is achievable and it is possible. Ethan, you made a really good point earlier. Like
I always do.
You
Yeah.
always do. But you
Yeah.
talked about like this 6 to 10 miles, that mark where either you start to lose motivation or it just gets like boring or whatever, or it starts hurting. And I think a lot of times what ends up happening in that for many runners, because I hear this too, is they're either losing like the love of it, or they're not pacing properly. I can't. It's so funny when you meet brand new runners and they're like, how fast can you do a mile? How fast can you do 3 miles? And right away, it's this understanding that every time you go out and run, that it has to be hard and it has to be fast and you have to go further. But the goal for a marathon, if you know you're going to run 26 miles, which is not easy at all, especially on the road, man, I really can beat up my body in a road marathon. But realizing that if you approach it in the best form, you approach a training plan with a body that's well and strong and fit, and that you focus just on the easy running in the beginning, you're going to get really fit, and then later on when you have to do the longer miles, it's going to be a lot easier. So it's kind of, I know that's kind of sounds similar to what I said in the half marathon, but the difference between the two is 13 miles. You're just adding more miles. Your long runs are longer.
You're doubling it, yeah.
Yeah, your long runs are a little bit longer. There's a lot of great resources out there. There's one book that's training for a marathon 3 days a week, which you can totally do. So if you're a busy business person,
my fiance, she's doing that right now. Her coach is taking her on I believe it's a 3-day-a-week training plan running, and then the other 2 or 3 days a week she's doing more core strength and going to the gym and doing lots of workouts in that sense. And it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and typically a good training program, you have 3 key workouts a week in a good training program. And one of them is your long run, and then you'll have something maybe in there like a tempo run or an out and back or a fartlek or intervals or something like that. But realistically, like if you have a 5-month marathon training program, I wouldn't even put in like tempo and interval runs until 2 months into the program. And you can go online right now. I'm not going to say the sites, and and you can generate your own training program. It'll make it for you. And it's like right away, week 1, you're doing like intervals and mile repeats. And it's no wonder that people lose motivation. They think, oh my gosh, this is so hard. Well, that's not the proper way to train. You want to just build the base, find that love for running, find new routes, find people to run with, run at different times during the day. If you genuinely enjoy something, you're going to stick to it, and you will do a lot better than if you approach it with rigidness and thinking that it has to be hard right away.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a...
Chris, what's going on in the chat room?
Yeah, Sally would be good at answering this stuff. Alex asks, never been able to lock in a pace for marathon like you can for a half. His half PR is a 132, where his marathon PR is a 410. What helps to keep steady later on? I would say that I think a lot of people don't take nutrition in when they run marathons like they do for an ultra marathon. Yeah. I know that's been my issue. I mean, I've run a 108 half marathon, and my marathon is shit compared to my
It was 108 what? 108 what?
What was the exact time?
Yeah, because I want to beat it.
Like 108.20 or something like that. I don't know.
108.19, bitch.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm probably in like 106 shape right now, but yeah, I haven't been.
I'm in 105 shape, bitch.
I haven't been able to lock down like a good marathon. Granted, I haven't run one in the shape that I am right now, but I think a lot of it had to do with nutrition. But pace-wise, a good thing to do is do fast finish long runs. So do like a 20-miler.
Perfect example. Nice.
Yeah, do a 20-miler and have your last 8 miles at marathon pace. And if you can't hold that, then you might want to back it off a little bit. So I think fast finish long runs are one of the best things you can do, and for ultra too. I mean, yeah.
What I was going to say for my part of the marathon is negative split halves. So one thing I like to do when I'm running a marathon is I'll do the first half as just like I don't want to call it a warm-up. I have to point this out. I'm not as fast as Sally or Chris. So I'm definitely a mid-packer, front of the mid-packer. So when I'm approaching a marathon, I'm looking at it as I got to go balls to the wall, all out. I'm looking at it as I want to survive the first half and I want to rock the second half. So I'll run those first 13 miles at a reasonable pace, something I'm used to training in, and not get caught up in the hype and the adrenaline of the first 2 or 3 miles, really dialing in my pace and running my own race. But then after that halfway mark, I already know that you did really good that first half. You push a little bit harder up until like 20 miles, you can run those last 6, that last 10K, like a 10K. And doing training, like fast finish long training runs, like Chris just said, is a great example of how to kind of train for that. I made a lot of mistakes in the last couple of years just trying to train too hard, too fast, and would end up getting to a marathon and blowing up wicked early because I'm going really fast really early and just thinking, oh man, the whole marathon's going to be a breeze. I could totally do this. And then you hit that mark at mile 19, mile 20 and just blowing up.
Yeah.
And the second thing I was going to say, nutrition. With a half marathon, I notice this now, I don't really have to worry about nutrition intake so much because it's such a short, an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending on what speed you're at, or an hour and 5 minutes, Chris Vargo. You will learn how to fuel your body at that point with all your long training. So you may only need to take in 1 gel. You may need to take in 2 or 3 gels, but that's it. But with a marathon, you really have to calculate how long you're going to be out there, what intensity you're going to be going at, what sort of calorie deficit you're going to be running with, hydration. If it's a hot day, you need to start worrying about hydration, and salt if you need to take an extra salt. So there's all these other factors that you need to dial in your training for that distance before you go into race day. Because if you go into race day and you don't have your nutrition or your salt or your liquid intake dialed in because you didn't practice it, it's like going to a music recital. You don't want to see a violinist that's only played violin for like 3 days. You want to see a violinist that's perfected what they're doing and they come out there and they nail it. You want to yo-yo ma all over that bitch. Anything else in the chat room, Chris, before we move on to Ultra?
People are just kind of chiming in about what we were just talking about, but like Chris Holloway says, hard runs hard, easy runs easy.
Yeah.
Which, to an extent, yeah, I think for the most part that's great, but sometimes it's good to go out and run just a hard 20-mile trail run just to get a feel of it. But I generally don't run as slow as I should run on easy days. But yeah, run hard on workouts and easy on easy days. Because if you don't run easy on your easy days, you're just not going to recover.
Right.
A lot of people run way too fast, or they go out and run 14-mile runs like Sally does for those recovery days.
Stop. Those are specific.
They're for a specific reason, making us all look bad.
No.
So if you have questions about marathon training for your first marathon, please continue to ask them in the chat room. Chris is kind of reading through those. If something pops up that we can chime into the discussion, he'll do that. Otherwise, we'll come back to him in the post show. I think it's time we move on to Ultramarathon. Your first one?
Okay.
Was that a question?
Yeah.
I guess it was a question. I realized as I press those graphics, you guys can't hear me. I can hear you both, but you guys can't hear me, so I can't even keep talking during them. Okay, so this is, I don't want to say it's just limited to 50K. Let's say 50K and 50 miler, because I know people who have jumped straight to a 50 miler. So if you guys have any advice. Yeah, but we're also with most ultramarathons. I will say that most ultras over the marathon distance do tend to fall on trails. Not all of them. There are roads. There are plenty of road 50Ks and 50 milers. But I will say most people that jump into this particular realm of running will probably sign up for a trail ultra first. Am I wrong in that assumption, or is that maybe semi-accurate? Guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, you paused for just like a second, but just reiterate, just say your last sentence one more time.
Sally's not even listening.
Get off the chat room.
I know, I'm watching Sally chat as well.
I'm not on it. It's not open, I promise. I'm listening.
Whatever, Sally. You are a liar.
You said something about when people transition, it's usually it'll likely be a trail ultra, right?
Nailed it.
Is that what your
totally,
point was?
Yeah, nailed it. I was just saying that it would most likely be a trail ultra, but it doesn't have to because there are road versions.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with an additional factor, and that is mountains.
Yes.
Right? So how do you make that jump for a first ultra?
Dirt. Yeah, well, I'll just say, just really briefly, like my own personal experience. My first ultra was a 50-mile race, and I trained for it mainly on a treadmill. I was terrified of the trails, and the other portion I just ran down at the beach on the beach path. So I never really got on trails until I ran my first ultra. I learned a lot as a result, and I think that I think that great advice just across the board. We all.
Oh.
And just like that,
lost her.
Sally's signal, because she's on Wi-Fi.
Possible, so that even if it's in a.
Sally.
Yeah. What?
Sally, just in case you didn't know, your Wi-Fi signal dropped out like big time. So keep going.
Okay. Should I start all over again?
No, Sally, you shouldn't.
It was boring anyway.
It was boring anyways. No. It was good advice. We basically lost like the last 30 seconds. That's it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, so basically you just want to make sure that your training program assimilates the race course as much as possible, even if it's out of state and you've never been on that terrain. At least try and look at the course profile map, the elevation chart. I mean, all those things are like on every race site for a reason, and they will do you a lot of benefit on race day. It'll give you that confidence that you need. I think just overall, though, if you are transitioning from a marathon onto the trails, a marathon to a 50K, we're looking at a 6-mile difference there, but you're now going to be climbing. You're now going to be on uneven terrain. You're going to be in dirt, mud, all that good stuff. I think, again, as I was saying earlier, like trails just require you to have a strong body, strong balance and coordination because of all the unevenness and the constant changing of terrain. And so I'd say you could run a 50K and train for it exactly like you do for a marathon. And I'd say for those that are advanced runners, like if you're a fast marathoner and you want to do a 50-miler, you can still continue training just like you do for a marathon. And then all you're going to be doing is just inserting some longer runs on the weekends. Like your long runs are even longer. That's about it. Some of the fastest guys that I know in the trail scene, Chris being one of them, his training is incredible, and he does a lot of fast running. The volume that he has on his legs is huge, and so he's able to do more frequent, harder runs. And he talked about like doing a long run with a fast finish, or long runs that have like tempo runs in the middle, and then it goes back into an aerobic pace and then finishes with a fast finish. So different training for different levels of runners, but I'd say still approach it like the same way that you would a marathon. The 50K is still the most popular ultra distance out there.
Yeah, I believe that. I mean, 50K was my first ultra over a year ago now, and I don't think I trained for it properly. I did as much hill work as possible, like climbing mountains and doing that kind of stuff locally around the trails. And I hadn't done my first trail run until, I would say 2 months before that ultra was my first trail run, and it scared the shit out of me because it was the Baldy Run to the Top, which is Mount Baldy here, which goes up to 10,000
That was
feet.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's
crazy.
That was
my first trail run. My first trail run.
Wow.
I did it with Rock Hard Runners. Eric, he's a local runner as well, and another guy named Guillaume. And I was terrified, because the night before I'm like, oh, it's a trail run. It's like a 6.5, 7 mile trail run. I've done marathons before. How bad could this be? Except that it starts at 6,000 feet of elevation, goes to 10,000 plus feet of elevation in those 6 miles, and it's technical. And the night before, I watched some video some guy had done from that race, and he's like, "This is the hardest race I've ever done. This is the hardest." I was scared shitless. It was tough. It was very tough. And the altitude got to me because I'm terrible with altitude. At least I was at that point, and had never summited that mountain. But it got my mindset into the right place, and I think that's what is really going to come into play with ultras, 50K, 50 mile plus, at least what I've learned. The mental game in those races is entirely different than something in a road marathon, at least in my experience. You have to learn to turn off when your mind is telling you no, and just trust that your body will take you there, because there have been times when I thought there's no way I can run any further than I'm running. And I'll just say like, there's no way I can go farther. There's no way. And you tell yourself that for 20 minutes, and all of a sudden you've gone another 2 miles. You're like, oh, wait, well, I just went 2 miles further than I told myself I couldn't. And you just keep going. You just keep going. So for me, best tip, turn that mind off. I mean, your mind's going to tell you no, but the truth is yes.
But your body's telling you. Your body's telling you no, and your mind is
Everything's telling you no.
Like a R. Kelly song or something like that?
No, that's trapped in a closet, Chris. That's trapped in a closet. Yeah, your body's telling you no, your mind is telling you no, but the truth is yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Barack Obama's speech. Yes, we can. Just remember that.
Well, it's true. Yeah, the instant you start telling yourself you can't do something, you're gonna slow down. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But there comes a point where your body starts to shut down too, though.
Yeah,
but it's hard to
sure.
get to that point, though. It's hard to get to that physical, like 100% exhaustion. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, rarely anyone would be able to do that.
Is that what you reached in Sean O'Brien?
Mine was just more of a no. It wasn't. I mean, I could have kept running. It was just I was weak, and when you're used to running strong, and it just felt horrible. And
Yeah,
like I
Sally,
said before, I wanted to win it, so it was like
Yeah.
kind of pointless, and I still felt sick, and well, whatever.
Sally, have you ever gotten to that point of just everything is telling you no?
Yeah, my first 100-miler was like that. I actually I came into the mile 74 aid station.
What was the race? What was the race? What year?
It was Angeles Crest 100, which is one of the toughest hundreds. But I decided to choose it as my first one. But I came into that aid station and realized that I had a stress fracture in my anterior tibialis. And I had trained so hard for this race, and I knew I didn't have a race after it planned, because I knew purposely that I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. But anyway, all that to say, I wanted to finish that race. I had been racing. My goal was to get on that podium, and so I finished. I finished with a stress fracture, and I can't tell you what kind of pain that was, because the last section of that course is incredibly difficult. Just that final climb, and then you just descend and descend. So every single step of that last marathon distance was incredibly painful, but but I finished, and that was my goal. And it was the type of injury too where I knew there was only so much bad that would result from it. If there was something with my organs, obviously I would have just stopped. My race would have been over. But for me, I was like, oh, it's just skeletal. Like, suck it up, Buttercup. You trained for 6 months for this. Like, go and finish. But that's a mental. Yeah, that's where your mental comes in, and you just have to focus on other things and push through. So
now, I already see in the chat room here, Martin Lindeck. I'm not sure if the pronunciation. I'm going to get it wrong no matter what. What have you done to train your mind? Talking about the mental thing. I have my first 100-miler coming up, and that is my biggest obstacle. In my experience, training your mind actually comes from just experience. So I've tried to do as many races in 2013 that I could that would push my body and my mind further than they had before. And not just necessarily further distance, but also different terrain. Like running the Squamish 50, I had run a 50-miler before, but never on terrain like that. So for me, I learned more during the Squamish 50 than I did on almost any of the races I did last year, because it pushed me well beyond what I ever thought possible. Same with the Cuyamaca 100K. It was a further distance. I went through some really bad shit in that race for a good 8 miles or so. Long time. Just a long time of suffering. But I came out of that race stronger. So in my opinion on this is do more races, do more training runs that put your body and everything almost, I don't want to say it, but like into shock. I've been doing that a lot in the last month, where I've been doing depletion runs, where I'll go out with one pocket fuel and do a 25 mile run with just 300 calories. That's it, and that has to last me the whole run, and like a bottle or two of water.
Yeah, I know.
And you worked. Yeah, you do, Chris. But But you work up to that, right, Ethan?
Yeah. I'm not saying, hey, your first run should be run on empty.
Start like at 5 miles, because I mean, for some people it takes them, an hour and a half to go 5 miles. So
plus, if you bonk really bad, you could die out there.
Yeah.
You could pass out, fall asleep. Because if you've ever bonked really hard, you start to get really sleepy, and like you think about kind of sitting down, maybe sit up against a tree. You could easily fall asleep. It's dangerous. Yeah, if you're out on the has anyone bonked that hard, or is it just me?
Wait, I'm sorry. No. Now I'm terrified. If I start getting sleepy on a run, does that mean I'm gonna die, Chris? What are you saying?
There's mountain lions out there, man. They look. Go ahead.
Well, you know what you can do too, and because I've had some athletes that I train that want to do this, and I say to them, if you're going out on the run by yourself and it is out on the trails and it's 16 miles and you want to be so hardcore and you just want to take one bottle of water, I say please shove in your pack, like shove in some gels just for that purpose. Like plan on not taking anything in, but if you get to the point where it's not going well, don't think that it's a bad training run or that you're not a great athlete if you have to consume calories. Again, there's a balance in that, and you really have to train yourself to work up toward it. And it could just be starting with like one run a week where it's going to be a calorie depletion run. Not every single run needs to be like that, because really what you're doing is you are taking away the fuel. And if you have like a hard, intense workout, you need a little bit of something at times, or you're going to do like 20 miles with a fast finish, like you do need to give yourself something. But the idea of calorie depletion, you are training your brain in that. I think it's wise for all of us just to remember that when we enter a race, it is a gift if the race turns out the way that you planned it to be. That's very rare. And so if you can train yourself to be okay with discomfort, to be okay with the setbacks and the surprises that happen in races and even in training, then and to keep on pushing through that, when you race, you'll recall upon those things. Go run in the rain. Go run in the mud. Go run when you have a headache. Teach yourself to get out of.
Run without a shirt on. Run drunk. Run in front of cars. Like, just have fun.
I know. Get hit by a car.
Do I have to clarify that? Now I feel like terrible. Like every time I go out on my depletion runs, yes, I have extra calories. I'm not an idiot. And yeah, I tell people where I'm going. And if I'm tired, I'm not going to pass out next to a tree and get eaten by a mountain lion. You guys are idiots. You guys are idiots. Specifically Chris. This has all been fantastic advice. If you guys continue to have questions about, those of you who are watching, have any questions about half marathon, full marathon, ultra training, I feel like we've only really touched the tip of the iceberg on this, because it is such a big topic, and everyone is different, everybody is different, everybody will handle different scenarios differently. But we all have one thing in common, and that's that we want to do it, and that we want to continue to train hard and do these races. So if you have questions, ask them in the chat room. If we don't get to them in the post show, I think we should have another show where we talk about this stuff, and I would love to have Chris and Sally back, of course. But I do want to move on because we are getting towards the end of our show. It's a new segment that we're going to do today. I haven't done it before, obviously because we're only 4 episodes in, but it's a fun one. The segment is called Runner's Rant. Runner's Rant! Basically, things bug me. There are some things that bug me when I'm running or when I'm racing or that I see people do, and I just want there to be some sort of venue where we can talk about that stuff, address it, and like throw it away and just get rid of it and not have to worry about it anymore. So one of my things, I'll start us off. Sally and Chris, if you guys want to come up with one, that would be great. One of my runner's rants is during races, when you're running towards a water aid station, some sort of aid station along the course, I usually carry a handheld. And this is, I'm going to say this is primarily in road races, because sometimes they have aid stations on either side of the course, right? So they have 10,000 people funneling into 2 aid stations on either side. I usually carry a handheld. I learned very early on that I want to carry my own water and refill just that bottle, because it's just much easier that way, and I can run through some aid stations. When I'm running through an aid station, I it drove me crazy at this last half marathon that I ran. But people will like beeline in front of you, cut you off, grab a cup of water, and then just stop. And you're like, I'm running, and you have to run around them, and then they'll catch up and they'll cut in front of you, or people will throw cups in front of you. That drives me crazy. So think of yourself as a car. Signal or look over your shoulder to let people know that, hey, I'm going to cut in front of you so I can grab that cup of water, just so you know not to run into me. It's dangerous. So people are just throwing themselves into some risk there. It's a little bit of a annoyance. Yeah. So that's my runner's rant. Chris or Sally, who would like to jump up?
I don't want to piss anyone off.
That's the whole point of runner's rant.
I guess one of the biggest things, I guess it's not really a rant, but it's more of a, I don't really understand it. Or
it's a rant. It's a rant. It's a runner's rant. Did you not see the opening title?
Gators. And I know there's probably people in the chat.
You should have just left it with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only people that get sand and rocks in their shoes are people that wear gaiters. No, I've never really had an issue with it.
Okay, for all you gator lovers, I wore gaiters for a race. It was for the Bishop race. There was several sandy sections.
You're still going to get sand in your shoe. Unless you're wearing like a leather Brooks Addiction walker.
You know what I don't like? I don't like shirts. Why do people even wear shirts? What's the point?
Hey, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I don't like wearing a shirt either.
Oh, okay. On that note, Sally, what is your runner's rant besides wearing a shirt?
Well, I wear a sports bra, but I'm just saying, like, it's more comfortable when you're just in a sports bra and, you know, a skirt or shorts or whatever. Okay, so
to go somewhere completely different.
No, let's not let it go anywhere. Let's see, runner's rant. It's kind of lame, but I guess like in a race, like I just don't understand why people throw their trash on the ground in a race. Please don't do that.
That's not lame. That's absolutely a valid runner's rant. That is awesome.
I love the trail so much, and I know how hard the race directors work to get those permits. And so, you know, when I'm you know, going on a trail, and a lot of times it's the races that have like multiple distances in them, you know. They'll have like a half marathon and a 50K and a 10K and a 50 mile, and it's like everyone is going on the same trail, so you're passing all different, you know, types of distances, all the different races. But just seeing trash on the trail, like I take my trash and I shove it in my sports bras, I shove it back inside of my bottles, I'll shove it anywhere and then empty out at an aid station. I mean, it weighs barely anything.
Yeah.
But
same thing. Yeah.
I think the trail community, like, we are known for having a love and appreciation for the outdoors, but also like respecting the fact that the race directors work so dang hard just to be able to get the race to be out there. And when we litter on it, not cool at all.
This is a real rant. Damn, Sally, that's some repressed anger. I want to dovetail on this.
A lot of people are saying the exact same thing in the chat room. Litter bugs. People
shout out some names. Who do we got in there?
Holloway dropping empty gel packets. Holloway again says litter bugs.
Yeah, I want to say that it doesn't apply to just trail races either. In road races, you'll see it between aid stations where people will just throw their gels on the ground. They don't think about it because they're like, oh, this course is closed off for the race, so they're going to come through and clean up the entire course.
Yeah.
The truth is, like, what if one of those packets doesn't get picked up by the big carts that they move through? Or what if there is a human that has to come through and pick that stuff up? You're essentially making someone's job harder. And they were out there working their ass off for you.
I'm guilty of like going up to an aid station. Like if I'm racing, I'll like take my trash out and kind of throw it in the general direction of the trash can if I can't.
Yeah, you won't always make it. I get that.
But in generally, and I'll apologize to the people working at the aid station, and they don't care. They're like, that's what we're here for. So
sure.
But yeah, littering, like when I see trash out on the, you see it out here, trash on the trails, it's unacceptable.
Miles, go ahead, Sally. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I see people talking about like triathlons and road races. Totally different. Yeah. Totally different. and some of those races are so huge, and and they're a lot faster, and they have literally thousands of volunteers. I mean, that's just what you do, like on the road. But when you're in a race with 200 people,
did you not hear what I said at all? I said that it happens in road races. And,
oh, sorry.
You talked about that.
I think it's inappropriate to happen in road races. I will go out of my way if I take a gel, I will go out of my way to hold on to that gel packet and find a garbage can and throw it in there.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I don't really take much nutrition in a road race, but I understand why people do it. I mean, you have an aid station like every mile, and it's just, I mean, it kind of goes with, like, it's expected kind of thing. Like, it's not I don't think it's frowned upon on roads as it is like on trails.
I frown upon it because it's littering. And
yeah.
What if one of those packets gets missed, or what if the individual that has to come through with the broom doesn't pick up your garbage? You should have just thrown it in the garbage. Sally, you and I are on different pages. I'm just going to cancel your stream right now. No,
I understand where you're coming from, but I think that the trails is just different. It's just different across the board. It's different. So.
Okay, I understand. And that was Runner's Rant.
Yeah. Runner's Rant.
I love doing graphics. Now this next segment is for Chris. It's just the tip with Chris, and we've been wanting to do it every single week. I finally created a little intro. Chris, this one's for you, my friend.
Just the tip with Chris Vargo.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
That was just for you, Chris.
Yeah.
What is just your tip today?
My tip is for climbing when you're ascending. I see a lot of people that will take big, powerful steps when it's best to take, I think, short, quicker steps, and to take the path of least resistance. So, like, it's easier to just keep your momentum. Like, if there's a rock in the way, it's easier to kind of go around it than to take a big, massive step on it. Especially you get into later stages into a race, you're gonna cramp up like crazy if you take a big, gnarly step up a rock. So, quick steps when you're climbing, and there comes a point where it does get too steep, and then you can power hike. But I actually think you waste a little bit more energy power hiking. It kind of throws your back out a little bit too. It kind of makes you sore. But yeah, that's one of that's my tip. And I take that after, like, you look at some of the best cyclists in the world, the best climbing cyclists. Like, as much as I hate Lance Armstrong, he was one of the best climbers out there, and he incorporated a really fast cadence, whereas guys like Jan Ulrich, some of the older big guys, they would just mash gears, and
all power.
You see more and more people doing a faster cadence. So that's my tip for you.
That is just the tip.
Awesome. That's a great tip, Chris.
Just the tip with Chris Vargo. That's me.
that might be my favorite thing I've created in a long time.
That's pretty good.
And it's just for you, Mr. Vargo. Okay, so we've had this wonderful guest on our show tonight, Sally McRae. She's an amazing, an elite ultra runner. She's also run road races. She comes from a track background, yeah?
Yeah, I did track, like, in the off season. I was a sprinter. I thought anything beyond 800 meters was ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. She has an amazing story. What?
Chris, look at Pat's on.
Huh? Oh, hey, Pat.
Pat. He's our manager.
Sally, are you still in the chat room?
Yes, I'm in the No, I'm listening.
Yeah, are you listening? Because I had to ask you to repeat stuff multiple times.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's stay focused.
I did track.
Stay focused, carrot juice.
Track.
Okay, so if you want to know more about Sally, she actually just did an interview over on iRunFar, and it was an amazing interview telling all about her history, her story growing up. A lot of inspiration there. So I would encourage you guys to go to iRunFar.com and check that out. They're great people over there. Sally, but I want to ask you some questions of my own in this next segment that we did it last week with Gary Robbins, but unfortunately the video signal was so awful that he couldn't really get it. Did a little segment we're going to call Quicky Question Quiz.
Okay.
So basically what's going to happen, Sally, It's very, very easy. I am going to ask you rapid-fire questions. Your job is to answer them as quickly and succinctly as possible.
Okay. But are they like IQ questions, or are they questions
Yes,
about me?
we're gonna grade your IQ at the end of this.
IQ question. What the hell are you talking about?
These aren't like
Nothing to do with running.
Suppose 2 swallows carried the coconut.
All right, well, I got to take that question out now. That sucks. It's none of that 2 trains left New York at blankety blank time. Okay? Trust me,
I'm giving you a hard
easy.
time. I know. I'm giving you a
Oh,
hard
okay,
time.
great, because I'm about to give you a hard time with like 10 incredibly difficult questions. So, Sally, I got to ask you, are you ready for the Quickie Question Quiz?
I'm ready for the quickie.
Okay, here we go.
Quiz.
I'm glad you added question quiz at the end of that, 'cause that's a whole other podcast. Okay, here we go. Question number 1. Running trails or running roads?
Trails.
Sun run or moon run?
Oh,
That's a
sun
tough
run.
one for
That
Sally.
is a tough one because I love them both so much, but sun.
Name your kids.
Mackenzie and Isaiah.
Name your kids in order of preference. You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Favorite television show?
Oh, I don't watch TV.
I knew that was going to be your answer, so you
yeah.
lose it. That's another negative 1 point. Do your best Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
I'll be back.
Wow, you even made the microphone go digital. You were that good. What house of Gryffindor are you? I'm sorry, what house of Hogwarts are you?
That's The Hobbit, right? Or no?
I think that was your answer. That's great. Running skirt or running shorts?
Skirt. Absolutely a skirt. A running skirt.
California or Colorado?
Oh. Southern California.
Oh, very specific.
Traffic.
Who could win in a race? You or Vargo?
Depends on what type of race.
That's obviously.
How about a foot race?
If it was 50 meters, absolutely me.
Yeah, right. No, there's no way.
No, Chris is insanely fast. He runs on the treadmill like at 4-minute miles. I'm not kidding.
Well, I can run outside fast too.
We have to film Chris on a treadmill catching the treadmill on fire, but we're not done with the quiz. Sally, Bradley Cooper or Bill Murray?
Bradley Cooper.
And that is it! Sally, the Quickie Question Quiz. I gotta put up the graphic just because the graphic is always fun to pop up. Nice job, Sally McRae. Thank you for doing that with us. Now, I did this last week. I want to do it again this week. I'm a big fan of this segment. It's something that I want to do every single week because I think it helps me, it helps other runners that I run with, and it helps you out there to be inspired. It's a segment called Runspiration. So, basically what's going to happen is I'm going to read a story that is submitted to me by you. If you would like to submit your own story, you can go to gingerrunner.com/contact and send me your story. Today's story comes from Michael Lamorte. I apologize if I'm pronouncing it wrong. But it's a good one. And there's pictures that come along with it. 11 years ago, I started running on my own to get healthy and reduce my stress level. It changed my life in that I had lost some weight when I started. Then, after my 2 daughters were born, Olivia Grace and Isabel Ray, my eating habits got really bad, where I had to put on weight, weighing in close to 300 pounds. I'm going to show a picture.
Best Father's Day.
In the spring of April 2012, I got into the New York City Marathon via lottery. I knew that at 42, 6 feet, and 4 inches, I couldn't do my 5th New York City Marathon with 300 pounds on my frame. I decided to clean up my diet and eat smaller portion sizes. I also worked with a trainer named Justin LaSala at a local Padisi Speed School in Garwood, New Jersey. By the time June 2012, I was down 35 pounds. After my training sessions were done, I joined a CrossFit program with my Parisi trainer. After losing close to 50 pounds, I read Born to Run and then adopted a vegan lifestyle. Today, I weigh 155 to 160 pounds, and I am running a lot faster. My last New York City Marathon time in 2009 when I was 300 pounds was 7 hours and 9 minutes. I PB'd, personal best or personal record, this 2013 New York City Marathon with a finishing time of 5 hours and 15 minutes. I just PR'd the 2014 Fred Lebeau half marathon under 2 hours, 1 hour 58 minutes. I love my new lifestyle, my new awareness of self, and my new commitment to physical fitness through running and CrossFit, as well as my plant-based diet. I'm also a big fan of your reviews. Thank you. I do all of my training runs in Newton's Energy NR. I love the Energy NR. Looking forward to new Newton balls coming out this week or this year when he wrote this to me. I have some great before and after pictures if you would like to see them. And I would, and he sent them to me, so here is the...
Can't hear him.
Yeah.
No, I realized that. Okay. I wasn't talking. I'm just going to show the photos. So that was the before photo. Here is the after photo.
So awesome.
That's crazy.
So awesome.
Incredible. I'm going to pull up a photo here of the before and after next to each other.
How much weight did he lose? Dang. Looks completely different.
Completely different. I mean, he went from over 300 pounds to 155 to 160 pounds, which I'm guessing is depending on the season, depending on the day that he weighs himself. That is an incredible change.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just running and exercise; it was also diet. And I'm a big fan of someone who can do so much better for their lives. And you know, that's a story that can apply to any of us and all of us. We can always, no matter how down in the dumps we might be, you know, no matter how far off the deep end we might think we are, we can always get back on track and make amazing changes like that. So that is a hell of a inspiration story. I get a lot of these every single week, and everyone's story is different. And that's what I love about it too, is that everyone's story is just a little bit different.
So awesome.
So yeah, we'll do more of those every single week.
Love it. Thanks for sharing that.
You really bet. Cool. And thank you, Sally, for joining us on tonight's show.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun. I mean, I love you guys. You're my boys. Give us some plugs.
Like, tell us where to find you.
Okay. My site is sallymcrae.com. And on that site, you can get to all my media outlets. I'm Yellow Runner on Instagram, Sally McRae on Twitter. I have a Yellow Runner page on Facebook and a Sally McRae Facebook profile. I'm also on Pinterest.
Boo! Boo! I know Chris is a huge Pinterest fan.
Thank you, Ethan.
My favorite. No.
Oh, and I have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Coach Sally McRae is my YouTube channel.
Yeah, go check her out. Honestly, this is just a joy to have her on the show because she does bring such great energy to everything she does and every person that she's around, no matter how. And this is actually one thing I really like about Sally is that anytime she finishes something amazing or does something amazing, like after she got second place at Sean O'Brien, the first question, or even winning Cuyamaca 100K, that's a perfect example. She won that race last October. She would finish and do this amazing thing, and you're like, how'd you do? She goes, oh, it's not, how'd you do? You know, like it was never about her. It was always about how did you do? And that's something that I really, really enjoy about Sally, is that she's never thinking about herself or gloating or ego. It's always about the other person. And I think that kind of energy is just really, really positive and really great for our sport because I really hate ego. I think that's something that really bugs me. There's a place for it at certain levels of competitiveness and certain elite levels. Chris Vargo. But for the most part, I think it needs to stay at home. Okay, so we're going to stick around for the post show. So if you guys have any questions or any, oh, of course, Sally. And be sure to follow Sally. I'll put all of her links in the comment section below or in the description below. If you guys have any questions, continue to join us in the chat. We're going to jump into the post show for 10 or 15 minutes or so and answer some questions that maybe didn't get asked. We hope you guys are enjoying the Ginger Runner Live. I'll be here every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific. Next week, no guest as of yet, but you know me, I'll probably add one at some point during the course of the week, so stay tuned. You can follow me on Twitter, all the social networks, actually. Twitter, at The Ginger Runner, Facebook, facebook.com/TheGingerRunner. You can find me on Instagram, at Ethan Newberry, and, of course, GingerRunner.com. And, yeah, these live streams are really, really great. I'll see you guys next time. I hope you're getting out there training hard, racing harder, and partying hardest. Hashtag Train Race Beer. All right, stick around for the post show.
Thanks, Ethan.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you, Ethan. So fun. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Good dance, Sally. Hey.
Yay, that was fun, you guys.
That was really fun, guys. That was really good.
I loved
Chris,
it.
We're still.
So we're still live. Yeah, we're still live. So Sally, you can't swear or say anything bad about people in the chat.
Oh, okay. I know. I was just gonna break into my salad. I'm so hungry.
No. Please do. Yes, please do. I know that you got back from
Okay.
your workout like right
Sorry,
before this.
people.
So go ahead and eat.
Okay.
Forgive Sally. She was going to nibble on a salad. That's
Yeah.
adorable. So Chris, I was trying to pay attention as much as possible in the chat room. How was actually, I'll just ask this to people who are watching. How was the stream tonight? Did anyone say anything?
Oh, about how the quality of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounded like everyone could see it nicely. People were saying much better than last.
Yeah, I saw that too. People were saying it was better than last time. There's people from all over too.
All over the world.
Sally looks like shit, and Ethan, you look great.
Yeah, I think. So again, this is a learning process doing the live streaming thing. What I've been able to do is dial in my side. So my side is fairly dialed in. I'm hardwired into the internet now. I've got a separate camera that's much higher quality than my laptop camera. But what that means is, if you look at Sally's connection, she's on Wi-Fi, and so that just contributes to the signal being a little bit more garbled. We could hear you fine, at least according to my earpiece. I could hear you fine, Sally. So I'm going to start doing these as podcasts. I'm going to download the audio files and uploading them as podcasts so people can download them and listen to them while they run, which I think is awesome.
Everyone's saying right now, great quality tonight, great quality. Stream was awesome.
Nailed it tonight, guys.
Everyone nailed it. Awesome. No issues. Sally is eating a salad in bed.
I guess you can tell I'm in bed, huh? I am in my bedroom.
So that is where magic is made, with salad. So Chris, were there any questions in the chat room that maybe we missed over? I know that there's a lot of chat. So.
Someone mentioned something about a Garmin. They were asking about how to replace or what they should replace their Garmin 110 with. I said Garmin 220 Sally, you've used the Nike GPS watch. I haven't used it yet.
Yeah, I do use that one. A few people have been asking me about it, but I like it because no matter what, like I wear it all day. It's a pretty attractive watch, and so if I have like a last-minute run that I'm gonna do, it's ready to go. It's very easy to click through, and the USB like plug is actually in the
watch.
In the watch. Thank you, Chris. It's in the watch, so it's very convenient. I really like it. I think there's a couple things though that they can improve on it, like maybe allowing you after you upload it to see like your elevation gain and stuff like that. And I think that's really important to trail runners. And so Nike's been awesome about listening to like the trail team's feedback and what we like. And so that's one of the things that I'll probably be discussing with them in regards to the watch.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Let's see. Another question about Sally. What are your go-to shoes for road and/or trail? Which obviously, what are they?
You can answer that, Chris.
Wait, what was the question?
For me, I wear your go-to shoes for road and/or trail. So for me, on the road, I run in the Nike Pegasus, but I actually I like the Wild Horse and the Kiger, both on the road, are really nice.
Yeah.
I actually ran in the Wild Horse on the road, and
it feels like a road shoe. And I know
really
our buddy Billy, or was it Billy, or was Ethan? You were asking about what to race in for a road flat. Was that you guys?
Well, I know that I will point out that you both are Nike athletes, and you're both running in Nike, and you're running in their top-of-the-line shoes.
Yeah.
I am under no contract, so I can talk about all the shoes that I review. I will say that, yes, the Wild Horse, I've been running trails and roads in that. That kind of blew my mind that I was able to run roads in the Wild Horse, which is the Nike trail shoe, and it feels really good. And I think it's because the lugs are spaced in a way that you can't feel them individually. They still give you the grip on the trails, but they also have road. I'm doing a review on it. You guys will see it. Road-wise, I'm a huge fan of the Kinvaras, the Saucony Kinvaras. I think that's a really good road shoe. I have not run in any Nike road shoes, so I apologize to Chris and Sally. I know that I'm probably offending you by saying that, but
No.
No.
I mean, honestly,
to each,
if you
gotta
like
find
if you like the Kinvara, that's probably why you like the Wild Horse. It's kind of a similar,
Very similar.
4mm heel to toe drop, kind of has that plush feel to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as I like the Pegasus, it holds up so well on the road. And I'd never run in it. I was running in Adidas stuff. Never ran in the Pegasus, and I actually like it more than I was running in the Adidas Glide Boost, which is a nice shoe, but I actually do like the Pegasus. A little bit wider on my foot, so I go with a B width.
Yeah.
So that's the only issue. A lot of people say that all Nike shoes are super narrow, and that's not the case
not true
at all. They've actually done a a job of accommodating everyone. So
That's why I like the Wild Horse, because it has a nice wide toe box, and like Chris was saying, I ran on the road in it yesterday. It's awesome on the road and on the trail.
Yeah.
I was going to say that. What was I going to say? Oh my God.
Shoes. You like? What do you like on the trail?
So right now I've been testing. This is my roommate's dog. As he slowly comes in the frame. This is Sir Didymus. He has no idea what's going on.
Is that him growling?
This is way better than the new Godzilla, by the way.
Oh, that's hilarious.
So on trails, I'm actually rotating between a couple of shoes right now. I am very privileged to get to run on a bunch of different brands of shoes and really kind of gauge what's working and what's not amongst brands. The Wild Horse is blowing my mind right now, much more than I thought it would. I have a couple of qualms. I'll get to that in my review when I post that. The Patagonia Everlong, I think that's a great trail shoe. I think it's terrain specific. I'll get to that review when I do that one. And the Salomon Sense Pro is dope. I love that thing. It's a race fit upper with a really nice aggressive outsole that's perfect for the SoCal trails and rocks and stuff like that. Those are my top 3 trail shoes that I'm rotating through at the current moment. But that always changes like month to month. What else we got going on in the chat room?
How is nutrition? I think you were going to talk about nutrition next week. Is that?
Yeah, actually, maybe I'll say that. I'll announce that now. Next week, I'd like to talk about nutrition. So I'd like to talk about what people do for specific races nutrition-wise. I know that I've never talked about what I do, but I think it's really good because I'm still learning, and so it'd be really good to talk to a professional. So maybe I can bring someone in that actually knows what they're talking about when it comes to nutrition.
Someone said that Sarah Palin is wearing the same top as me right now. There's no way that Sarah Palin is wearing this. This is like the elite Nike jacket.
I think you can get the jacket though. It just doesn't have the big.
It doesn't have the
Nike
huge.
Maybe you can get it. I don't know. Pat.
I've never seen it. Pat, chime in. But that is funny.
I just managed to figure out how to get the video on Google Plus to switch between who's talking at what moment, and it just went on. So, Sally, go ahead and start talking.
I'm eating a salad right now, and it's amazing.
Oh, that's so amazing, because now I can talk and it comes back to me. This is great. I don't have to click anymore. That's blowing my mind. But when Sally starts laughing, it goes all schizo.
Oh, it goes to the person that's talking when you're... What are you talking about?
Yeah, whenever there's an audio input, it'll go to the person whose audio is clicking on. The problem is if someone goes, yeah, if you say one, exactly, if you say one little thing, it'll jump across. I forgot to mention this during the live stream. For those, we're still live, but during the main show, you guys, 2 of us have races this weekend. Chris, you're running Way Too Cool 50K.
Yeah.
And I'm running the Los Angeles Marathon this weekend.
Yeah.
Chris, talk to us about the Way Too Cool 50K. Why is this race special to you? I know that it's a big deal for speedsters, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, one of the reasons that I'm going back is because I got second there last year. I lost to Max King, who after the race, talking to Max, he said it was one of the best races he had ever had, which is pretty impressive considering he's run, 4th at Olympic trials in the steeplechase and a lot of big marathon wins and whatnot. But Yeah, so I got second there last year. I'd like to obviously win this year. I lived in Sacramento for a little bit, and I love the Auburn trails up there. So in the Auburn Canyon, which some of you know, is that's where Western States finishes. So I think we actually hop on to a little bit of the course for States, and it's fast. So I think there's like a little over 4,000 feet of gain, but I mean, last year I ran it in like a 6:40 something pace for 4,000 feet of climbing. So it's fast. So it'll be nice and quick this year. One of our teammates, Alex Varner, who's the U.S. 50K champ, will be racing. So I have a feeling it'll be him and I. And there's another Mario Frioli, I've heard is actually a pretty quick road guy. So it should transfer over nicely.
Mario Frioli.
Jacob Riedman, Rod Bean. I think Lior Pantalot's running, La Sportiva guy.
And you're going for it, I'm assuming. You're going to go for this one, yeah?
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously.
Without a doubt. Yeah, so I have a feeling, and James Walsh asked me what the winning time. So the record's 3:08. I've run a 3:18. I think if it's dry, 3:15 will win it this year. Okay. If it's wet, sub 3:20 will win it.
The record is 3:08. Do you think you could break that, or is that just outside of the normal bound?
It would have to be as like dry as it was last year. You'd have to have a really good day. Like, I have the second fastest time ever. It's actually the third. Like, if you look on Ultra sign up, it's the third. But the guy that's in front of me, that was on a different course that was at about a mile shorter than the new one. So, so I'd like to go 3:15 or sub 3:15. I'd be pretty pumped for that. But just to win, I'm gonna run to win. So.
Yeah. I want to point out, Sally, you don't have to type in the chat room to tell people you're sorry for eating a salad. You can actually just tell them.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you guys.
Right, you let your hair down.
I'm getting hot. Jacket off, hair down.
It's a skunk.
Are you going back outside, Chris? Because we just want to know if you are going to go let Colt back in.
He's passed out on the couch right now. Actually, he's awake now. See? Say hi, buddy.
Hi, big sweetie.
Oh, such a cute little boy. Such a cute little boy.
I was going outside because the door was open and it smelled like something got skunked out there. So it's pretty.
Yeah, the second you start moving around, also your video signal starts blowing.
Sorry. Anyway.
John Slick 13 in the chat room is saying, one Old English 40 down, starting another. I better run a 30K tomorrow. Well, that's a lot of booze, so I wish you luck with that one. Old English 40 ouncer. I remember those from college. We used to do Edward 40 hands. Used to take them to both sides, both hands. Yeah, Sally, thank you for posting the link to iRunFar by just literally typing iRunFar.com, not the actual link to your specific article. I was making fun of you. Scrolling up here, Sally, you already answered that.
What?
Sally and Ethan, have you considered running Old Goats 50 or the Chimera 100 right down the road from you guys?
I did do the Chimera 100K. I'll be honest, it is just not my favorite race, but it is popular around here. And the race director, Steve Harvey, is awesome. He puts on a great race. It is popular, like in Southern California. But no, I tend to I really like the more competitive races, and those ones seem to be more conducive to just like locals. And but yeah, it really is about like what your goals and what you're looking for in a race too. So it's well done. It's been around for a while. You got some great local racers that go out for it. It's very challenging. And so I would recommend the race, but if you're asking me personally, I don't plan on doing either of those races anytime soon. So.
Yeah, I've looked into Old Goats. Chimera, I have not looked into. I have friends that ran it last year, but I will most likely be running the Cuyamaca 100K this year again because I want to qualify for Western States, and that race, since it was my first 100K, I kind of have like a personal relationship with it, and they put on such a great race that I would love to run it again and qualify for Western. And that's pretty I think Chimera is the next weekend or like 2 weeks later.
Yeah, it's around that. Yeah.
Running. I'm looking into running the Pine to Palm 100. As my first 100-miler, which I think would be really rad, and that's Southern Oregon.
Pine to Palm.
That's Pine to Palm, yeah.
Yeah, that would be rad. I hear that's pretty sweet. So, Ethan, for you, for the marathon, what's your plan for your marathon?
So, for the LA Marathon, which I'm running this year, which I'm really excited about because it's kind of the hometown marathon. The course is just rad as far as marathons go because you run from Dodger Stadium to Santa Monica, straight to the ocean. You run through Hollywood Boulevard, the Walk of Fame. Like, you pretty much go through everything important in LA. Even downtown and then down Santa Monica Boulevard. And there's tons of fan support throughout the entire thing, which I really dig. So my goal with this one, I'm filming it this time, which I haven't filmed an LA Marathon race experience before, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to take it easy because I have the Gorge 50K coming up 2 weeks after that at the end of this month. And I'm really looking forward to that race. I know it's going to be really tough, especially coming off of a couple races last month and then 2 races this month. I have a pretty busy calendar for these first couple of months of the year. So I'm going to take LA moderate, just kind of shooting for sub 4.
Yeah.
The Chris is like, it's a double what I would finish it in. But really, yeah, I think sub 4, running a moderate pace, not pushing myself, maybe pushing myself towards the end if I feel like I have the energy, but focusing on the video and making a good video. And I know a lot of fans are running that race as well, and I want to meet as many people as possible. So I really anticipate meeting people while we're running and getting and stuff like that.
That's awesome.
It's a huge race. Yeah. It's awesome. That was actually my first marathon. I love the LA Marathon. I haven't done the new course yet, but
the new course it's the best. So much better than the old course, which I believe the old course was just downtown, right? Like downtown LA.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How long has the new course been there? Doesn't it run along the
for a while?
Ever?
You run to the ocean.
It finishes at the ocean.
Yeah. Where does it start?
Dodger Stadium. So Dodger Stadium is 26 miles east of the ocean, essentially. You start at Griffith Park.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're running. It's a straight shot straight to the ocean. You run a little bit south and then west, and like 24 miles west, 2 miles south, or something like that.
So is it like a net downhill then? Is there a little bit of a downhill?
I'll be totally honest. There's a nasty hill at mile 20. It's very similar to the Boston Marathon course. Yeah. It's not net downhill. There are some rollers, some really good rollers, especially coming into mile, I would say mile 8, 6 to 8. There's some good rollers. The half marathon point, there's a couple rollers, and then the mile 20 hill is just the one that comes out of nowhere. It's very similar to the Boston Marathon course. Not a huge hill, maybe 100 feet, 200 feet in elevation total.
But it's at mile 20.
Yeah, but it's at mile 20, and when you're rolling,
that's kind of like Boston. It's not so much the hill; it's where it's placed in the race, or where it is in the race. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sally will be out at Way Too Cool.
Yeah,
we Sally, you're gonna go out there.
Yep. And I guess you could plug Trail Runner Nation right now too. So. Yeah,
I'm a co-host on Trail Runner Nation, and we are planning Media Friday. So we'll be doing, I believe right now we have 4 podcasts, live podcasts similar to this for Friday, and one of them is going to be the Nike team. So if you are doing Way Too Cool, you can come and we'll have like an auditorium and stuff. I think it's like 2 minutes away from packet pickup. But you can come and watch live. The Nike team's going to have discussions. Team Patagonia. We will be also interviewing Gordy and Carl Meltzer too. Yeah, it should be a really fun time. I'm excited. Really candid. If you tune into Trail Runner Nation, nothing is edited, and we always have a really good time. But yeah, I'm not racing. I'll just be up there for that, and I will be. I'm going to be sneaking in a couple races on the a couple training runs on the Western States course on Friday morning and Sunday morning. So. And
if you're going to be in the area, the Nike team will be there at 3:30 at the Auburn Holiday Inn is where we're doing the podcast, and you can come and ask questions or just or just hang out. And I think Pat will actually have some giveaways, some Nike giveaway stuff too. So
damn. Now I want to skip out on the LA Marathon. I want to come up to you guys and watch you guys run way too cool, or at least watch Chris run.
I've got a suite, man. You can come hang out.
I know.
What?
It's
What? No way.
Yeah.
No way, son.
In Roseville,
Shit.
California.
That's on Saturday, right?
Saturday,
The race
yeah.
is on Saturday, and the podcast is on Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So it should be pretty cool. The Trail Runner Nation guys are great. So.
Yeah.
They are awesome. They just started following me on Twitter, and thank you guys.
About time.
We're gonna kind of go through and see if there's
Kind of
any
like
questions
Ethan
here.
Newberry just following me a couple days ago. Too.
Is that true? That's not true. I've been following you for a while, Chris.
No, I think you followed Sally and I at the same time, and it was like 4 days ago.
Well, you have two accounts, and I think it was one of those like, wait, why am I not following them? I thought I was.
But
right?
I remember conversing with you or tweeting back and forth with you, Ethan, when you were on the plane and the lady next to you was eating chips really loud, and you live tweeted the whole flight. Do you remember
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that flight.
That was awesome.
Airchip 1.
Airchip
Force
1. Yeah.
There's an actual hashtag you can follow. I think it's Airchip1. If you search that hashtag on Twitter, and it was my entire flight from LA to Seattle, where this woman.
With pictures.
It was all very real. I have pictures and video. She was eating like the loudest chips, and just like she was pulling snacks out of nowhere, and it was like, what the fuck is happening next to me?
Were you on JetBlue?
No, I think it was Virgin. I think it was Virgin America, but I
Oh, no.
documented the entire thing. It was
Unlimited snack. Hey, Pat just chimed in here. Pat's our Nike manager. He wanted to let everyone know we are giving away Nike stuff, and I actually think during a few of the other shows on this Friday, we're giving away product too. So.
Is he in the chat room?
Yeah, his name's Pat.
Nice.
Really, really cool guy. Actually, I hope that's okay that I told people that. They're like, "Where's the Nike guy?"
Yeah, but,
Well, they were before. Now they are. Way to go.
Yeah.
I think
Sorry, Pat.
Aren't you guys interviewing Carl too? I think he's doing that like wing. It's a charity thing, which will be pretty cool too.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
Carl's
with Carl.
a cool guy. Yeah. But yeah, giveaways, Nike giveaways.
Giveaways
Yes.
are always good. I was going to do one tonight, but one of the people that I was in contact with to give an item away, I might save it for next week because they never got back to me. We've been back and forth, and then the last thing I needed was like actual information about a specific thing. So I'll be doing a giveaway hopefully next week, which I'm very excited about.
I'm sure we could get Nike stuff to give away on one of them too.
I mean, yeah, if you want to speak for Nike in that matter, then I would love to give that stuff away.
Yeah.
I want to reward people for being so loyal because they really, you guys who are watching are some of the most loyal fans around, and of course I want to give back to the community. I reached 2,500 followers on Twitter recently, and I gave away a T-shirt for that, a custom-made Ginger Runner Train Race Beer T-shirt, which is rad. I reached 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a huge get. That's a huge number because I think I could count less on my hand runners who have that number or more. And I gave away a pair of shoes last week on last week's show for that. And I want to give a pair of shoes away again next week. I think it's really, really awesome. But yeah, we can talk about that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, just kind of catching up with comments. Let me know if you guys see any comments in here that we should talk about. We'll probably take a couple more.
Here's a comment that's hilarious. So sad you don't do giveaways to Canada. His fiance's in Canada.
That was last week. Runningshoes.com. They've been hooking me up with pairs of shoes to review for about a year. They were hosting the giveaway last week, and unfortunately, they can't ship to Canada. And there are certain laws that companies like that can't do that kind of thing because there's certain trade laws and stuff. However, if it's something that I possess, I am more than happy to pay the custom fees and all that kind of stuff. So if it's a Ginger Runner T-shirt, like that Ginger Runner T-shirt Twitter follower contest, I gave that away. I think the winner actually ended up being someone from the States randomly, but I was like, anyone can enter that. I don't care if you're in Sweden. I don't care if you're in Jamaica. You're getting it if you win it. Go ahead.
Here's a great question someone just wrote in. Chris, Sally, have you ever had a chance running in any European race? Are you planning to? What do you think is the main difference between European and ultra scene and the one home? Chris, I'll let you answer this, but I will say it's from XI Chitis 987. I do plan on running in Europe, and I have been talking with a couple people about some of the races over there. That's definitely a dream and a goal of mine. I'm absolutely enamored with those mountains and just the trail scene as a whole. So maybe in 2015, Chris, you?
Yeah, next year, without a doubt, I will. My schedule's pretty much jam full right now, and it's all U.S. stuff. But Sierras and All is one I'd like to do. I'd also like to do Transvolcania, Tarawara, which is coming up March 15th. That'll be cool. And the last one they just had, the Trans Canaria.
Trans Gran Canaria.
Trans Gran Canaria. It's 125K, which is kind of it's
interesting distance, right?
Not 100 miler, but it's still
it's like an 82 miles or something.
Right. Transvolcania would be sweet. Yeah, Sierras and All. I'd like to do the Mont Blanc Marathon. I think the 100 miler at some point down the road would be cool to be UTMB. But yeah, next year. I think I may also try. I'm not sure when mountain running champs are this year.
Mm-hmm.
It may overlap with stuff that I'm doing already, but yeah, mountain running champs, and then if you get on that team, you go. I don't even know where Worlds are, but it's usually in Europe. So yeah, next year definitely. And I think you said something about the difference between the European scene and the U.S. scene.
Yeah.
I feel like here it's more. The races are faster. So if you're a faster runner, it's gonna suit you. Whereas in Europe, it's like straight up and straight down.
Yeah.
More rugged mountain running, which we're starting to get some races in the States and the U.S. sky running. Like the Rut will be a good mountainous 50K. Speed Goat, obviously, I'll be racing that this year. Is 11,000.
Staircase, which I know is Rain Shadow running up in Washington. That's brutal.
That's supposed to be pretty gnarly. I think they're doing a vertical K out in the Breckenridge area too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're starting that European side of things is starting to make its way over into the States, which I think is pretty sweet. That's what's cool about the mountain running scene is there's just so many different types of races and ultras, and so it'll be cool to see that transition over here.
I know they didn't ask me, but I plan on doing some international races as well, other than America and Canada. I definitely want to go across the ocean and run in Europe. Mm-hmm. I actually really want to get Timothy Olsen or Dylan Bowman or Jorge Maravilla on the show, even Mike Foote, just to talk to them about their races. I know that Tim had an amazing race at Trans Gran Canaria. Third place on that kind of terrain and that kind of mountainous area with that kind of elevation, and
the amount of training he's been doing too is badass.
Like he's been training monster amounts.
He didn't rest for that race,
Yeah, I think his taper was maybe the flight over.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe a taper, unless he was running up and down the aisles on the plane.
I'm really excited to see what he does at Hard Rock. I think he'll win Hard Rock.
I do too. I definitely do. I think everything that happens between now and Hard Rock is all for Hard Rock. Like, as much as, his third place finish at Trans Gran Canaria is like an amazing performance. But I think that's all, it's just perfect training for him for Hard Rock. I think that's going to be a goal this year.
For sure. Yeah, it'll be cool.
That guy is a beast.
He is.
I can't wait to get him on the show. Okay, well, maybe take one more question in the chat room if I see it, and we'll let you guys go. I know, Sally, you probably still want to eat your salad unless you've been eating this the whole time.
I took a break.
Okay, good.
It's probably pretty gross for people to watch me shoving spinach into my mouth.
Yeah, it's disgusting. The good thing is that you're just in a tiny square in the corner, so no one really saw. I'm going to scroll all the way back up towards the top to see if there's anything that we missed, because I know that there's a number of questions that popped through.
I have one here that I saw. Can I?
Go, yes, please.
Daniel, how do you plan recovery training for 50 milers 8 weeks apart? Ethan and Sally, I think y'all did this year for I can never pronounce it. Cuyamaca 100K and North Face.
Cuyamaca.
Yeah.
And then San Francisco. And I know, well, Sally ran North Face. I ran North Face, and we both ran Sean O'Brien, which came up super quick. But the question was, how do you recover for something like that? I personally take a really easy week after that race and then just jump right back into training. So I think everyone's a little bit different. Your fitness is there, so I don't run as much training-wise now as I did leading up to North Face because I hadn't raced since June, where Ian has me racing. I'm racing pretty much every month, so my mileage is around 80 to 90 miles a week right now, as opposed to I've been up to 120 before. That's kind of rare, but 100, 110 miles. So it's almost like the race is part of the training. So hard race, couple days off, recover easy, maybe hop on the bike, and then just get right back in the running. And obviously you want to listen to your body. If you feel like you're going to shred a calf off, then stop running and wait a little bit.
That's a great question. I think, too, it's important to remember that everybody recovers differently. There's some phenomenal, top elite athletes. They'll take 6 weeks off before then they'll pick up training again, and sometimes that's just what your body needs. But if you have a year planned out where you do want to be racing 6 to 8 weeks apart, know first of all that as soon as you finish that race, you don't necessarily need to start a brand new training plan again.
Right.
Like Chris was saying, your base is already there. You've already put in the hard work. So your goal then in that time between the two races is to recover right, because that's huge. That's really going to dictate your training going into the next race. Recover right. Make sure that your body is strong and you're healthy. And then it's mainly maintenance. So you do some active, some good long aerobic runs, but you do want to maintain your speed too. So you'll put in the tempo runs and things like that, and kind of treat it the same way you did as you were leading up to the next race. But the recovery is key. If you do the recovery wrong, then you're going to go into the next race and you won't race well. So never underestimate the power of a true recovery, and make sure it fits you and your body and your motivation level and all that.
I will also dovetail on that and agree with Sally. Last year was my first year doing ultras and marathons and mixing everything together. My ultimate goal was to run a race a month, at least a marathon race a month, and that was just very ambitious. And I learned pretty early on in that year that you can do that for a while. You can run back-to-back races within 4 weeks or less, back-to-back, for a while, but then it catches up to you. And that happened right before Cuyamaca, where I felt like my training was catching up to me, or at least my recovery problems were catching up to me, where in leading up into Cuyamaca, I just wasn't recovering as quickly after long runs, and long runs were just hurting me, and I was feeling really ragged. And I still managed to do Cuyamaca just fine, and I'm very, very happy with my performance there, because I finished. So that to me is just a huge success. I come from the background of never expected to be doing any of this stuff. Absolutely never thought
that's awesome.
would be able to do this. So that worked. The next race after that was December, which is the North Face. So I gave myself, I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks of no running. I think I hopped on the bike on the stationary trainer a couple days, maybe some hiking or walking. But I really did very little running because I really wanted to give myself a really good break before the 50 mile in North Face, and I think that helped.
For sure.
North Face, I ended up PRing that 50-mile distance, which was great for me. I wish I had gone a little bit faster, but look, you can't complain about that. If it's a 50-mile race, anything can happen, and I was really happy with that result. So after that race, I gave myself December I was like, this year has been excruciatingly tough. I took 3 weeks basically of no running. The 4th week I started running a little bit, doing some trails and stuff like that around Christmas, New Year's. And then January was like back into full force.
Add on to that, like you took a good amount of time off. Even doing 2 weeks, you're really not going to lose that much fitness at all in that 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Running is good for that. It's one of those sports that you can hop back into. A lot of road guys and track guys will actually take like 3 months off of running.
Really?
Do nothing. Yeah, but those guys are training for every 2 years is a Worlds year, so they'll train for the Worlds. Like they have that one race that they want to do well at, or the Olympics.
Oh, sorry, you guys. Michael Lamorte is in the chat room right now. The inspiration story that you just shared.
Nice.
He's saying hi, and he says, "Thank you so much, Ethan, for sharing my story." Sorry to cut you off, Chris. I apologize.
No, that's what this is all about. No, that's exactly what I like. Good.
Yeah, cool.
Keep going, Chris.
But I was going to add too that it's hard with the mountain running, ultra running, that there's no season. There's always a race, and there's always a big race. Every month there is a big race going on. I mean, I describe big as competitive for me, or a race that has money involved with it.
Sure.
But there's always, the sport's growing so much, it's just there's no downtime. So you need to make sure that if you are doing a race every month, that if you're not feeling good going into one of them, then maybe don't do that one and wait until the next month. I mean, there's always going to be a race, which I probably should have done that for Sean O'Brien, but I wanted to get out there and run a little bit. But there's always another race. Don't put all your eggs into one basket, But
and for sure, especially with ultra running, there's so many cool. For you, it's competitive. For me, it's like, I want to run this really cool race that takes you on this really cool journey through these really cool mountains, or these jungles, or these trees, or waterfalls. So it's that scenic thing that makes you really want to do these races. And with a 100-miler, I want to see if I can go that far. But I know that these races are going to be there every year, and it's just so hard to tell myself, let that be a 2015 race, or let that be a 2016 race. You don't need to cram it all into 1 year.
Right.
I'm still struggling with that, and that's one reason why I'm going into LA Marathon this weekend and just like make it a training run. LA Marathon there's no reason to get hurt. There's no reason to push myself and try to get a PR this early in the season. Like, if I want to do a road marathon PR, I could do that at the end of 2014, or I can schedule that at some other point, because I have a 50K coming up right after this one, and then I have another race coming up after that. It's like, take it easy, let it be a training run, let it kind of help dial in nutrition or something, and enjoy it rather than suffer consequences down the road. And I'm really, that's what I've been focusing and struggling with in the last, I would say, 6 months, is just making sure that I don't try to bite off more than I can chew too early, because everything is so cool, everything's so awesome.
For sure.
Just be patient. Be patient. Right. That stuff will happen.
Yeah, and you go to these races and you race, and afterwards you're like hanging out with everyone, and it's just a good vibe, and then you go home and it's like, oh, shit, man, this is boring, Like, I want to get back. I want to get back and race again. So I understand people want to race as much as they can. It's fun. That's why we do it, and it's a good way to get away. And
our sport just in and of itself is excessive. It's extreme. It's ultra everything. So it is really easy, especially because the community is so tight-knit, to get so excited and so caught up with what everyone else is doing, especially when it's all over social media, and there's all these new races popping up, and like Chris was saying, there is no off-season. And so I think, a few of the coaching certifications I went to, it was actually really funny. they were talking about how to recover from a marathon, and they said for every mile that you run a race, that's how many days that you need to recover. And I giggled.
Right.
I was like, yeah, right. We do not take 100 days off from running after we run a 100-mile race, or
I'll see you guys in
50 days off.
2019.
Yeah, but the unfortunate thing is, and we've seen this a few times, where we see these awesome front of the pack great runners, and they have 2 solid amazing years, and then you don't hear about them anymore. And it's either because of a lack of motivation, overtraining, it was just too much too hard, or it's injury on top of injury, and really all of that dials down to just doing too much, and it catches up with you. And so again, if you start to sense that you're losing motivation, you're not enjoying it anymore, that routinely on your runs you don't feel like you're completing them very well, or you're just always sluggish, be careful, because sometimes a week off of doing nothing allows you to come back and have the best training that you've had maybe in a month, a month or two stint. So again, recovery and rest is just as powerful as putting in the hours, too. So
totally agree with that. I think we are long on time. Honestly, I love Ginger Runner Live. I think this is a really cool platform, and I'm really happy to be I'm pretty positive the first person to be doing this kind of thing, where people can live interact with professionals in the industry. So I'm really, really excited to be doing this more. I hate to say that we probably should cut this short and, well, I guess cut it long, because we've now been going for an hour and 45 minutes. There's tons of questions still going on. If you have anything specific for Sally or Chris, you could go to their websites and go to all of their social platforms and ask them there. We'll have them back for sure. Chris, I'm really loving you doing Just the Tip with Chris, so I imagine he'll be back next Monday as long as he's around. Sally, we'll get you back on the show for sure as well. We hope that you guys, our live viewers, tune back in next Monday live, 6 p.m. Pacific. If not, it's always on demand. And like I said, I want to start turning this into a podcast, so the audios will be downloaded and then uploaded to iTunes. It's a process. I did it many, many years ago. It's been a long time since I've done it, so I have to kind of learn the whole thing all over again, how to make a podcast for iTunes. But I have to thank all of you guys for tuning in and sticking with us the entire night. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, share it. Really, that's the best way to help spread the word of Ginger Runner Live. I want it to be a big thing. I want it to make a difference. I want it to prove that this can exist and this can happen. Like, these live streams can happen. Look, it's the future, and we're existing in it right now. Go spend some time with your families. That's it. You guys are awesome. We'll see you guys next week live, 6 p.m.
Thanks, you guys. It was fun. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Chris. Yeah. Great. All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye.